What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mind Something. If you're new here, my name is Jake, and in today's video, I'm going to try and predict the RTX 4000 series hash rates as well as the AMD RX 7000 series hash rates. So, if you guys have watched some of my previous videos where I'm talking about getting away from using Ethereum's hash rate as the go-to way to describe the size of your farm using something that I call TPA, I've taken this one step further, and I'm going to try and predict potential hash rates based on Ethereum, because that's what everybody knows. So if you haven't seen this spreadsheet yet, I basically took all of the specs from all of these different cards and put them into a formula to come up with a number to compare them to one another. And I'm not going to go through all this, but we'll explain some of the basics here. So for example, a 6700 versus a 3060, they're pretty similar in hash rates on several different algorithms, with some differences depending on if it's a core algorithm or a memory intensive algorithm. And as you can see, when you average those hash rates out and you divide this one by that one, you get a ratio. And using TPA, we've got a very, very similar ratio. So this chart was created to kind of help you figure out the size of your farm without having to describe it in Ethereum hash rate. But using this information here, I'm going to take some calculated guesses on what I think hash rate's going to be, especially now that we have hash rates for the 4090. So let's go ahead and take a look at this new spreadsheet that I've created. And I wanted to back test my theory. So basically what you've got is you've got the TDP of each card, you've got my TPA rating of each card, you've got the power usage on Ethereum, and then you've got the hash rate on Ethereum, and we come up with a ratio, and then we've got our efficiency numbers here. So for example, cards that we know of for sure, the 4090, we've got hash rates on Ethereum now, so we've got a TDP of 450, a TPA score of 212, and again, I got that number from my chart here. And then we've got the power usage at 260 watts on Ethereum with a hash rate of 127. Now, if you take basically the formula that I've got here, let's see if I can find it. So C5 plus D5 plus E5 divided by H5. So these three divided by this number will give you this, and vice versa. If you take this and these two and divide it by this, then you're going to come up with your power. Basically, these numbers go backwards on cards that we know specifically the hash rates on. So another example would be 3060 Ti, 3070, 3070 Ti, 6700s, all the way through 6800 XT. I just wanted to back test it on a few to see if this particular number was accurate. So, for example, all of these with our ratio give us a correct number on hash rate. And same thing here, if you take the 6700, you put in your TDP, you put in your TPA, using 100 watts, if you add these three and divide by this ratio, what do you know? It gives you a very, very accurate hash rate on Ethereum. And then same thing with the rest of these cards here. So a 3070 with the TPA score, with the power limit, divided by the ratio, gives us a pretty accurate Ethereum number. And same thing on a 3070 Ti. Now, as I went higher up in the cards, so up to a 6900 XT and all the way up to a 3090, the numbers started getting slightly skewed. But looking down the middle of the pack on both AMD and Nvidia, we can use these numbers here to extrapolate a formula to guess on what we're going to have on the 4000 series and the 7000 series. So you can play with these numbers. I'm going to try and make this editable so that you guys can download this and play with the numbers, but I'm just taking some guesses here on our power usage. So on a 4080, if we use 230 watts, we'd only be getting 95 mega hash on Ethereum, which if you change your power limit here, this starts to change your efficiency. So take this with a grain of salt, but it doesn't look like a 4080 is actually going to outperform a 3080 when it comes to mining Ethereum. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. On a 4070 Ti, it does look like we increased our hash rate as compared to a 3070 Ti, but not by much. I'd say maybe around 4 or 5%. And then looking at a 4070, if we jump our power usage up to 160 watts, we do get pretty efficient here on a 4070, and we're sitting at about 76 mega hash on Ethereum at 160 watts. And then going down to the AMD cards, we've got the 7600 XT with the TPA score. And if we use the same amount of power that we did on a 6700, as you can see, we have just a very slight increase, not much at all. And then taking a look at the 7700 XT, this is where we start to find some good efficiency. So if we jump up to 120 watts, we'd be at about 58 megahash on ETHW or ETH or ETC. And as you can see, we're gaining a little increase in mega hash, but as far as efficiency and mega hash per watt, it's not looking great across the board. And I'm just going to make a prediction and say that the 7000 series on AMD, based off of using my TPA scores, is pretty similar to what we have now on the 6000 series. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but based on what I'm seeing right now, we are going to see a little increase, but unfortunately don't expect a whole lot. I guess maybe there'll be some oddballs out. Maybe we will get something that is super efficient that my chart's not taking into account. But there you have it. Feel free to play with the numbers as you like, but yeah, I think this is pretty accurate, guys. I'm very curious to see what your thoughts are. Leave your comment down below. Hit the like and hit the subscribe on the way out if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next video.